So by the end of this lesson, you will be able to customize the Excel workspace and make those last few tweaks to really let the spreadsheet world feel like home. And we will cover the various ways and platforms you can use to access help, so that you will never feel alone when crunching the numbers in Excel. Last but not least, we're going to combine every concept learned throughout the module, and together we're going to do a mini project where you can follow along. A few steps back, let's see Module 1 in review. We've covered most of the tabs, including the Home tab, where you learned formatting and basic editing skills. The Insert tab, where we covered inserting tables, pictures, icons, 3D models, and even used smart art. We created people graphs using the add-in and looked at 3 basic charts to get you a head start with visually presenting data, and the Page Layout tab for all your printing needs. But that's not all. Remember all the handy tools and features we covered in the Data tab, including sort and filter, as well as drop-down lists and how to add outlines to your data. In the Review tab, we learnt about the proofing tools and how to insert and manage comments, as well as notes, and in the View tab we briefly touched on the workbook views to help you work more effectively in the worksheets. In a bit more detail, these are the specific tools you acquired under each core skill we looked at when we discussed the skills progression slide. These will be available in your toolkits as well, if you ever need to revisit them. So I won't be covering each bullet point in depth, but I just wanted to point out that when we started, I mentioned the importance of starting with the basics in order to build on your knowledge in a systematic way. So I hope you can see how starting from navigating and understanding fundamental concepts such as data types have really helped us as we progressed through the trickier concepts like working with linking, for example. And with respect to integrity of data, laying the foundation with the code of conduct has helped with the way in which you think about your data and the ways in which you manage your data to ensure it is free from error so that it can be used in meaningful ways. And with clean data that is reliable, you can then convert them into tables and add slices and use functions to analyze your data, like assessing the maximum and minimum values within a range. And some chefs say it's not only about the taste, but also the presentation. So with Excel, presenting beautiful looking spreadsheets is an important aspect too. Therefore, we covered all the formatting options and styles available, as well as using charts, illustrations, and conditional formatting to add graphical elements to your workbook. And while not the true essence of automation, there are elements of automation that can be taken into consideration when building functions into your spreadsheets, or by making use of templates to save time. But we will look at even more exciting ways of automating tasks when we look at macros and VBA in modules 2, 3, and 4. Let's get into the meat of the lesson and look at customization. You're already familiar with the elements of the workspace, but all of these are customizable to the extent of how you want Excel to look when you open a new workbook. But starting from the workspace, you have options with how to display the ribbons, depending on whether you need more or less space, and there's a shortcut to hide the ribbon using Ctrl and F1. If your formula or function spans multiple lines, you can resize the formula bar to display all the data. If you want particular features and fonts when you open Excel, in the Backstage under General Options, you can select a default font, font size, which workbook view you would prefer, the number of worksheets you would like to be immediately available, and even the theme. Over and above hiding the ribbons, you can also customize them. You can hide or add tabs and change the order of the tabs and even the groups within the tabs. And if you require a very specific structure, yes, you can even create your own tab. And if that's not enough for you, there is a toolbar at the top left called the QAT, or Quick Access Toolbar. It's a name that needs no explanation, as it is super quick access to all your favorite commands with just one click. So it should come as no surprise that you can add additional commands, change the icons to make them fun and interesting, and even reposition the QAT if you prefer it to be more on hand. Let's see all of this in action in a practical. So starting from the top right, going clockwise, in the heading you can see the Ribbon Display Options command. By selecting this, your first option is to auto-hide the ribbon, providing you with more space in your work area. By clicking on the ellipsis, you temporarily show the ribbon again. You can also just select to show the tabs, and by clicking on a tab, it brings the ribbon back into view. Or you can select to just show all the tabs and commands. In order to collapse the ribbon, you can also hold the shortcut Ctrl F1. Holding Ctrl and F1 again brings the ribbon back into view. And for extensively long formulas, as I mentioned, you can adjust the size of the formula bar by clicking and dragging. Let's move on to the Backstage. In the File tab under Options, we'll bring up the Excel Options dialog box. In the General tab under User Interface Options, here again you can click to collapse the ribbon automatically when you open up a new workbook. For further options, you can change the font size, and to show the workbook view you prefer, and even the number of sheets you would like to open up upon opening a new workbook. Do you remember the keyboard shortcut to open a new workbook? Ctrl N brings up a new workbook, and you can see the changes have taken effect, and it opens up in the page layout view that I selected, as well as 3 worksheets. Now to customize your ribbons, you can right-click on any tab and select Customize the Ribbon. Here is another way to collapse the ribbon as well. When selecting to customize the ribbon, the Excel Options dialog box becomes available, and here you can add popular commands into your main tabs. You can also hide tabs and bring them back. These default tabs cannot be deleted. However, you can create a new tab and even edit the groups within the existing tabs. So to create a new tab, select the New Tab option, and you can rename it to. You can then begin to add new groups and commands. By selecting OK, it brings up your new tab with your favorite shortcuts. Moving on to the Quick Access toolbar. This is located in the top left of your workspace, and there is a drop-down arrow where you can customize your Quick Access toolbar and add new shortcuts. If you require further commands, you can add more commands and even move the Quick Access toolbar to below the ribbon. Let's add another command. You can select from the list of popular commands using any item in the drop-down list. To add a command, highlight the command and select Add, and click OK. The icon has now been added to our quick access toolbar. When we move on to creating macros in Module 2, you'll be able to edit the icon that displays in the quick access toolbar as well. When in need, help is but a click away, and Microsoft has again built in several methods to ensure you never feel lost or stuck. So, at the top in the middle, you can find the search bar, which is also a quick link directly to a command, and if it does not find what you're looking for, it will open the search task pane, which provides you with direct links to the internet. You can also activate the search bar using the shortcut Alt and Q. And if you're familiar with computers, you will be familiar with one of the most popular shortcuts of all time, and that is the F1. If that's not enough, there's a Help tab with a Help group, and if you're still stuck, there is the Microsoft Office Support website with a blog and a forum where users can help each other, and all of this can be accessed directly from the Help tab. And the last really neat shortcut is when hovering over a command, you will notice the Tell Me More question mark that you can click on, and in the dialog boxes that pop up, you will notice a question mark in the top right corner to access help on those specific commands. Let's run through the help functions quickly. The search bar is located in the center of the title of your workbook. You can click in the bar. You can search for any item. By selecting the command under the Actions section, it activates that command. You can also use the keyboard shortcut Alt-Q to activate the search bar. In the Help tab, there is the Help group. At any point in the spreadsheet, if you activate F1, it opens the task pane, where you can also search for anything you require further information on. Within the Help tab, the Help group provides you with a question mark, which activates the task pane as well. You can also contact a Microsoft Office Support agent. If you have any suggestions or feedback, you can provide that in the feedback command. If you need to access tutorials, you can use the Show Training command, and the tutorials become available in the Help task pane. To get up to date with the latest and greatest in Excel, you can use What's New. Now, Microsoft likes to help those who help themselves, as well as each other. So you can find very handy features in the community group with a forum and a blog, and you can even suggest a new feature. These suggestions are posted online into the suggestions box where you can provide feedback, add ideas, and vote on ideas as well. Next, by hovering over a command, you will find the Tell Me More link at the bottom of the description. By clicking on this link, the Help task pane activates, and it provides you with specific information around that command. And do you remember the Format dialog box? In the top right corner, you will see the question mark to select, and it directs you to an online link with information about the command. And that's not all. There is also an Excel help and learning support website, and I will provide you with the link in your summary notes. Are you enjoying Module 1 of the Excel course? Do you know it gets that much more exciting in the next 3? While you can create the most amazing spreadsheets, we have but scratched the surface of the functionality within this incredible application. So you can only imagine the fun to be had. Even more functions, more shortcuts, more tips, but most importantly, so many more features in the project. So let's get to it. The goal we are working towards is to create your very own personal monthly budget template. It will be a template so that you can use the same workbook every month to create a new budget to suit your needs. In this template, we will have 4 worksheets, and we're going to incorporate various elements from all the lessons in Module 1 to see how they work together. The first instruction was to create 4 worksheets. Do you remember how to insert a new worksheet? I'm going to select the plus button just above the status bar. The next important task is to rename our worksheets. So I will call the first one Instructions. I will call the second one Summary. I will rename the third one to Budget, and the fourth one to Additional. We'll run through each tab slowly. Firstly, in the Instructions tab, we're going to use a Smart Art graphic. The purpose of the Instructions tab is to provide guidance to your users as to how to complete your template in the most accurate way. So for this, I will use a process. And you can select any layout that suits your needs. I'm going to select the vertical chevron list. Now we've inserted our Smart Art, we can style it, format it, and add in the necessary instructions. So, once it's all beautifully formatted, at the drop of a hat, we have a list. I have created a section for each tab with instructions of how to complete the information within those worksheets. And don't forget, it is very important to add a heading as well. And we're almost there. Let's move on to the Budget tab. Firstly, we need to create a table where we can enter our monthly budget as well as the actual expenses so that we can track our budget versus actual every month. I'm going to bring in some formatted headings, and we'll run through the information required under each heading. Under Type, you can have monthly recurring expenditure or ad hoc once-off expenditure, and those are the 2 types we will include in this list. For cost category, we will have various cost categories such as children, gifts, personal care, and pets. And under description, we will include more detailed descriptions for each of those cost categories. The budget amount column is where you will enter your budgeted amount on a monthly basis. And after some retail therapy, you can enter your actual expenditure in the actual expense column. We will insert a function in the difference column and some conditional formatting under cost overview. Already, in order to complete the spreadsheet, do you see that the use of a drop-down list will help with consistency and with guiding users as to what to enter into each column? So let's jump over to the Additional tab. Here I'm going to create 3 lists in order to create drop-down lists. Under category, I've included children, equipment, entertainment, food, gifts, just to name a few. But you can add whatever is required for you, as this will be your personal monthly budget. I've also included the months of the year, and as I mentioned, the ad hoc once-off expenditure and recurring expenditure as the types that we will need to include in our table. Let's leave this as is for now. Moving back to the budget, we can begin to create our drop-down lists. I would like to insert a drop-down list in row 11 under the heading Type. Do you remember where to find the drop-down list? In the Data, Data Tools, and Data Validation. We're going to select a list, And for our source data, we will highlight the types in the additional tab. Do you recognize absolute referencing and the equal sign indicating a link to a different worksheet? Let's proceed to do the same for our cost categories. Again, we'll add in another list using data validation, and as easy as this, we can highlight our information and select OK. I will leave description as a free text field so you have the freedom to enter any description needed. The budget amount and actual expense and difference columns, we want to include some formatting. I will select the accounting format and in the difference column, insert a formula to subtract the actual expense amount from the budget amount. In the cost overview section, I'm going to insert conditional formatting and I'm going to make use of the data bars. So this way, at a glance, we can easily spot where we are spending a little too much. The next important aspect is to convert our list into a table. Fortunately, there is a shortcut to insert a table. Let's not forget Control and T. Check that your table has headers and select OK. You can now change your table style to suit your needs. If we test the drop-down lists, all our items have been included. Now let's see the beauty of a table. When we want to create a new line, Excel will recognize that the information might relate to the same table and the formatting is copied down, and the added bonus is our drop-downs then become available, as well as our formula. Next step is we want to include some slices in our table. So we can choose to insert our slices from the Insert tab or the Table Design Contextual tab. Let's include a slice of the type and cost category. These are blank at the moment, but as you complete your table with data, these cost categories will be entered and Excel will automatically detect them as we have used a table. Again, the importance of tables cannot be stressed. They are a myriad of benefits and they are far more efficient to use. So let's test that now. If we add in a recurring expense and an ad hoc expense, you will see our type slicer has updated correctly. And we can do the same with our cost category. And as you enter the information, our slices become updated. What will also be very useful is, as this will be a monthly budget, to insert the current month. So let's do that now. And in our additional tab, we've already created a list of the months, so let's create a drop-down for this as well. And again, by selecting your source, you can highlight the information and click OK. And why not get a bit more fancy, and let's add in an icon. The icon will help us identify that we need to enter a month. Don't forget to realign. You can also format your icons to fit within the theme selected in your workbook. And let's test the drop-down, and you can see all the months are available to select. So when you create a budget for June, you can just select June. Moving on to the Summary tab. This is where you would want to get an overview of what's contained in your budget. So I'm going to add in a brief summary at the top of the different balances. On the left, I want to show the budget amount for the current month, as well as the actual expenses for the current month, and what's remaining of my budget. On the right-hand side, I want to show my actual income for the month, which I've highlighted in blue as you will insert this on a monthly basis, as well as my actual expenses so that you can have a view of how much cash you have left to spend. A quick and efficient way to do this is to link the budget amount to our budget table. Simply by highlighting the column, Excel will add in your budget figures irrespective of how long your table is. Let's create the same formula for actual expenses, and we can insert the actual expenses on the right as well. I've also included some conditional formatting for the difference in cash available to highlight it in red if our cash available and difference goes into a deficit, and green if we still have cash available and budget available. Next, because we'll enter the month in the Budget tab, there is no need to enter it here as well, as you may forget. The easiest is to link the cell to the month in our Budget tab. So as you update it in the Budget tab, it automatically updates in the Summary tab as well. In the next section, we may want a bit more information about the actual expenditure and perhaps a breakdown of the expenditure. For the next section, you may want to insert a breakdown of the actual expenses so you can analyze where you're spending most of your money. So I will bring in the list of categories, and here we can make use of a SUMIF formula in order to bring through the total each month. We're going to sum if in the category range, the category matches the name ad hoc, and then we want to bring through the actual expense amount. We can copy this formula down, and don't forget to format your numbers. And for the total, I will bring in an AutoSum function, and it looks like we're almost ready to go. But let's not forget, we can add in a graph. The chart that will be most useful to me in this situation would be to select a clustered bar. So in the Insert tab under Charts, I'm going to select a 2D bar. You can now begin to customize your chart as we discussed in Lesson 6, using the Quick Access buttons or the Chart Design and Format Contextual tabs. I want to show you the last few tips and tricks to really give your workbook something extra. So for each tab in the page layout, you can choose to hide the view and the headings to make your workspace bigger and neater to look at. So let's do that for each tab. And already it's starting to look like a professional template. The last step is to add a personal touch to each tab with a heading and perhaps a picture. You can bring in any picture of your choosing, and adding in a text box using Insert Text Box, you can add in any heading you choose. On my Budget tab, I'm going to insert a picture and a heading as well. And let's do one for the Summary tab. On the Instructions tab, I will also add a graphic. And we're good to go. One final tip and tool for Module 1 is that you can change the themes of your workbook. In the Page Layout tab in the Themes group, you can select a theme. By changing the theme, you immediately limit your options with your color palettes that you can choose from, and even your cell styles. What this does is it consistently formats all your data within your workbook. And I think the last step is to save our workbook as a template. From the previous lesson, under the Save As, you can select to browse and change the Save As type to an Excel template. It directs us to the Custom Office Templates folder, where we can change this to Monthly Personal Budget and select Save. Now we've saved our template, you can begin to use your template on a monthly basis. So let's have a look at a completed template. In the Budget tab, I've completed the budget for the month of January, with all the items where I would like to allocate a budget and my actual expenses. I don't think I did too well this month, but it's a learning curve for the next few months. Our conditional formatting is in place, and I've inserted icons into the difference column as well to immediately show me where I'm still under or over, or where I need to watch my spending. As you've learned, these conditional formatting rules are dynamic, so should I change this at any time, it automatically updates in the table as well. By using the slices, I can filter as needed, and if I need to select more than one category, I can activate the multi-select. In our summary, here we can see the total budget amount, actual expenses, the difference, and it doesn't look like we're doing too well. And once completed, our chart is beautifully created to give us an indication of the major cost categories being housing, food, and transportation.